Hi everyone, it's Natalie here. So I'm over here today again for the general reading. So we're looking at the week to come for the 19th of October through the 25th. So, yeah, is that right? No. The 19th, yeah, the 19th through the 25th. Wow. Some days it takes a moment. That's why there's caffeine. So I'm going to use the Santa Muerte Tarot again today. I think for the rest of the month, I'll just be alternating this one and the Marigold Tarot. And then for my other readings, for the weekly readings, I think I'll alternate between this one and the Marigold Tarot and the Tarot de Saint Croix. So this week for the general reading, we are going to work again with the Santa Muerte Tarot, which I happen to like. And it is growing on me the more I work with it. So I keep forgetting the box should be this way and then have the memento vivere. Oh, vivere. Well, it's an Italian creator, so it's hard to remember. Okay, so we're just going to start by shuffling a couple of times, and then I'll pull our significator. So we're looking for, I should scoot my little bench down here. We're looking for the Fool. And there he is. The Fool's been elected to represent each of us individually on our journey. And we're going to find out what is coming up in the next week. And I'm going to change the format a little bit. I will do the first operation, count the cards, etc. But I'm going to, in between first operation and card counting, I'm going to go ahead and bring in the Amenti Oracle so that we're looking at it sooner this week. So, that said, okay, so to begin with, we should really move it over here. It's such a male-gendered deck, though. I'm pretty sure if this deck could choose its gender, it would say that it was male. Okay. Wow. All right. So we've got one big pile yet again this week. I'm going to start with Wands. And we're looking for our Fool. Too bad. There were some good ones in there. Okay. So we're going Wands, Cups, Swords, Pentacles, right? Oh boy. And of course, like, we've got one deck, or, one pile that's like super thick. And naturally, if the Fool's not here, they must be in here. So let's find out. There they are. So once again, we've got the thick pile. The solution to our problem is going to be reached through sensing. So feeling, how is the body physically? How are things the way that we sense them out through the physical beingness of ourselves? And that's how we're going to solve problems. What is your body telling you? It's easy for us to confuse sensing with intuition, and intuition is the function of the wands pile. So when our significator shows up in the wands pile, the way that we solve that issue is through the intuition. But through sensing, we're using actual sensory receptors of the body, right? So how is the body feeling, and what kind of feedback is it giving us? And the Pentacles pile is also going to tell us a lot about the physical foundation of our lives. So potentially it's going to tell us about health, maybe. It may also more likely be telling us about, home, property, money, finances, and the way that we manage them. Okay, so that said, let's pull an Amenti Oracle card for the week. Wow, so we've got this one again, which is an interesting one to have in the Pentacles pile. I do good. So I am going to go ahead and give us a read of this one for the week, because I feel like when we're looking at setting intentions, and especially the intention of I do good, right? We want to keep a light heart. And that's why we're using the Amenti Oracle. It's to look at, okay, maybe these are the events that we can expect to have coming up this week. But within that, how can we also serve an intention of a light heart, which is, I think by default becomes an open heart, and a gentle heart, and a more loving heart. And the reason that I put so much emphasis on this, for one thing, is because I need it. I need it personally. And I need that reminder on a regular basis. It's a really hard world that we're living in. And having reminders of ways to have that intention and make it real and make it actual in the world, it's hard. It's really, really hard to do. And so I find I need those reminders, and I need that kind of help, and I need that filter. Because try as I might, it's harder and harder all the time to focus and concentrate and live life through really conscious intention, at least in the way that I once was able to. Not being a monastic and not being as easily contemplative as I have been in past makes that very challenging. So we're looking at how we do good in the world and what Jennifer Sodini, who's the author of the deck, says. She says, in physics, the conservation of energy means that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only be transformed from one form to another. Emotional gradients gradually fade in and out of consciousness depending on what life leads us through and how the mind makes sense of the mysteries of the phenomenal world. Laughter, tears, and orgasm are all ecstatic releases in their own right, coordinates of consciousness rooted in the heart center. Happiness, as the effervescence within the heart space, is so special because when life shows us contrast, sense memories, there's sense again and sensing, sense memories remind us that although what comes up must go down, melancholia's monotony can transform if we recall the power of a smile when things go south or appear to go south. The nebulousness of emotion and how energy is conserved can present a challenge when attempting to do good in every effort, especially if you're looking to live in alignment with this particular ideal. The nebulous notion of good is often subjective, a construct of culture and imagination, and what truly defines something as the antithesis of bad can be theorized to be the energy behind an action. Wow. So in other words, she's saying that intention alone is what creates good. So that when we do good, holding that intention is a great big part of it. I like that. as energy is something that cannot be created, but rather cultivated and then transformed. We empower the invisible world by embodying heart-based emotions in our actions, reactions, choices, and connections. Good, as a primary option, is an offering or an articulation of the way of kind deeds, warm words, and a devotion to being the best possible person you can be. The etymology of gospel finds its truest root in, so gospel in italics, right? So she's talking about the idea, the actual word gospel, right? The etymology of the word gospel finds its truest root in the Greek euangelion, 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 meaning good news. An ancient tradition spoke of the most sacred actions and greatest stories of all time from lip to ear. Good books, which spread good news, allow words to exist in three-dimensional objects, so that the testimonies of history and the accounts of great mysteries can be studied and observed. Goodness embodied allows for an existence which is history in motion, emotion expressed in the highest form, energy transformed into a testimony of a life lived in alignment with loving kindness, and a conservation of affection to cause an effect to a world in need. With every deed done, time becomes dented with dignity, human hearts expand farther away from density, and the light of the earth shines brighter than before. She really packs it in this book. I mean, it's really rich. It's really rich. So yes, I tend to agree with everything that she just said. So really, we're harmonizing our lives in with our hearts, right? And in the intention of doing good. And again, our Fool is looking clockwise. So because they're looking clockwise, I'm going to set the cards up clockwise as well. Okay, so I've got my handy dandy pen and piece of scrap paper. So we're going to start counting clockwise. Our Fool is facing clockwise for us, and of course the Fool is worth 3 because the Fool is an elemental card. So 1, 2, 3. Our first card, wow, I haven't had this one in a reading yet, is the Lovers. Wow. So we have the Lovers, and the Lovers is, I believe, a zodiac. I'm going to say it's a 9. Yeah, so, or sorry, a 12. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ooh, let's start again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Because I know the Santa Muerte card is under there, and I really wanted it to be that one. Okay, we have the 9 of Swords. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 3 of Pentacles here. One, 2, 3. Oh, yay! We've got our Hierophant. Oh, no, sorry, the Magician. Darn. I was hoping that was the Hierophant. It's close. So we have the Magician. Of course, if it's in this... it just totally makes sense that it's in that pile. Okay, so the Magician is a planetary card. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4... 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, yay, the 5 of Cups. Just what we always want. I sense we'll have some power over our Five of Cups, though. Let's see. So 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got a court card. Yeah, King of Wands. And he's worth 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 gives us Justice. Justice is Libra, so we're looking at 12 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Wow, we're at the Fool. Okay, so the Fool will not take us back to the beginning and end our cycle because the Fool started it and counted as 1, but this time it was counted as another number. So we're starting here. So we have 1, 2, 3. Oh, wow, 2 of Cups. Maybe looking at how, I've got some ideas of what's coming up already. Let's see, 2 of Cups. And then 1, 2 gives us King of Swords. And he's going to be a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, around and around we go. Oh, this is fun. This is the 7 of Swords. Very creepy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, thank heavens. Okay. So our the 7 of Swords ends our cycle. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 cards, folks. Oh my gosh. 11 cards. What a week. Okay. So, let's get in here and collect them up. And 7 of Swords ends things. So we'll sweep up all the rest of our cards, and then we can lay them out and look at them. But I think for that, I'm going to switch the camera around. Okay, so we've got the camera turned around so that we can actually look at the whole spread-ish. I do think what it'll be easier to do here is for me to sit in such a way here that I can actually pan the camera over and pan it around this way, right? So that we can actually read what's here. So we've got the King of Wands here in the center, kind of as our focal point of this entire reading. And there's so many cards this week that I feel like really, sticking to just getting through the narrative is probably as much of a task as what we need. There are a few little areas here where it's like, oh, that's interesting. But I think I can point those out as we're going. So we're going to start with the camera switched a little bit this way so that we can actually take in our Lover's card down here. So here's our Lover's card. It's the first one of the reading, and it's got kind of an interesting, what's the word I want? He's got an interesting meaning written down for this particular Lover's card, and I thought it would be really kind of helpful to read it, so I am going to do that. I bookmarked the little spots here in the book, and I took a minute to just go back in and look at some of the meanings for a few of these cards, because they're ones that I haven't had come up a great deal in readings so far, and I've been reading with the deck all month, but where that's the case, I do like to read what Fabio Listrani has written in his guidebook, because I do find that his meanings are interesting. They're very, very interesting, and they do tell a little bit more about what the intent is in some of these cards, and I think in some cases it's genius, and I think in other cases it's less than genius. I wouldn't call the Lover's card here particularly genius, but I do think it's quite good. So what he says about this one, is that the card of the Lovers forces us to choose, but not before we have gone through a period of learning, including doubts, crossroads, and ambiguities. We are finally ready to do what we like and to love what we do. The key of the choice shines actively, and our heart is ready to accept it, creating a new union, a new project, or a new friendship. It is also a moment for meetings of social life, altruism, but on the negative side, it can bring with it doubts, arguments, and even separations, deceptions, or temptations. And I feel like that is going to be something that we're seeing here throughout the week. I definitely feel like this is one of those spreads that's pulling in some energy from, last week or the week before, and that's taking us even really kind of into early November, but which has a strong focus in this week to come. That tends to be the way with a reading that goes this deeply, right? So we're piecing together that information week to week and reconciling with it. The advice of the dead for this card is, having chosen the direction, proceed without hesitation towards that road. It will probably be the harder road, but it will reveal itself without doubt to be the best way to gain what you love. Okay, so it looks like this week to start with, we're going into some new situations. We've made some choices about what directions we want to take in life or in work, keeping in mind that we're looking at things to do with work, finance, home, the physical body, etc. This one to me feels more like it's focused around, physical body, work, work and finances, and so on, rather, those decisions rather than health. That's definitely how this week feels. So the Nine of Swords is an interesting card in this deck. I feel like having made that choice, what we're looking at here is being alone with that idea and that choice, and looking at, thinking it through, seeing how that particular idea sits with you. That's definitely in harmony with what he's said in the book, right? This does not follow RWS in a really exact way. It definitely feels inspired in some places by RWS, but he is absolutely going his own direction with this. And, the way I like to read is really to take in what the deck creator is doing, as well as my own response to a card. This one feels like very, being all up in the head, after making that choice, being all up in the head about whether that's the right choice, is it what we should do, etc. And it also feels to me like taking some time for quiet thought alone, right? So finding the time to create that kind of space around your own head and in your own head so that you can actually think things through properly. Okay. So why do we need to do that? Well, we're going to do that because we're planting seeds, right? And if this is a possible new collaboration, planting those seeds very consciously and really planting them intentionally, right? Following this idea that we've brought in through our Amenti Oracle this week, of I do good. How does that apply, right? So if we're going forward, how do we apply that? And then it's also, I think, beginning that work. It's taking those first steps at beginning the growth and beginning that work. Moving on to the Magician. The Magician, I think, is really reminding us here of our intention and the strength of our intention. So if we know that what we want to do and what we want to build, is definitely in harmony with who we are and how we see the world, we're going to be in good shape to move forward. I think the Magician too is also telling us, without any, no holds barred, get on it and just do it. Start the work, make the efforts. It does look as though that's not going to be as easy as it would seem. So staying in harmony with that intention is probably going to bring some stuff up for us, right? It will bring up some self-doubt. It will bring up some fear. And this card I love because it's not just our spilled cups and life is over and terrible. If you look at the water that surrounds the skeleton, it has lotuses growing in it. The muck and the mire of our emotions if we can delve down into it and let go of the labyrinth of the mind, right? Letting go of the overthinking, we have the potential to find how to grow that lotus. And we started here, you know, back in this Pentacles card earlier with looking at how to actually start the growth. You know, how do I get this started? Well, everything needs water in order to grow. And sometimes it also is something that grows from water, from the body, from the feelings, from the emotions. So as much as we'd like to think our way through it, it looks like in this case we're going to be asked to look at solving things through some major alone time. You know, I'm seeing also, I'm sitting at an angle where I can't use two hands at once. But I'm seeing also, you know, we're looking at two different situations where we're being asked to spend time in solitude in order to solve problems and move forward. The key with this Nine of Swords is to make sure that that thinking time is used well and that it's about thinking and not anxiety. So it's about strategizing rather than ruminating in order to take those first steps. Make sure that the steps we're taking are deeply in harmony with, you know, the intention that we want moving forward. And then, you know, as that brings up stuff, probably stuff from our past, you know, that tends to be the case, to really allow that in. You know, this is a card that's very much about allowing, and instead of ignoring the emotions or escaping the emotions and going into the labyrinth of the mind, I feel like those lilies, those lotus, you know, the lily pad and the lotus flower are telling us that our inspiration is going to come from the body and from the emotions, right? The emotions live in the body. They surround the body. And when we let those through, they have this remarkable way of inspiring us. And often, you know, if the mind is giving us a maze of things to try and solve, it helps us to find our way through that maze. You know, it helps to clear the path. I do want to read what he says about his Five of Wands in this deck, or sorry, Five of Cups, because I think it's really beautiful and it's a very different reading than what we're accustomed to from RWS. So what he says about this card, oops, I've lost my screen. There it is. What he says about this card is the Five of Chalices brings a period of introspection into the labyrinth of our emotions, our sentiments, a period of reflection and solitude that could bring us to reconciliation or a retreat. The initial resistance, disappointment, or prudence can be transformed successively into something else. So the advice of the dead for this card is stay with your emotions and let them overwhelm you. Let them flow and follow their course, as only in this way will you arrive at a new harmony and alliance. And I like that, and I would say in this case that what we're looking at, you know, knowing that we're dealing with the Pentacles pile this week and that problems are going to be solved through sensing, I feel that this is about emotions, etc., but I also think it's about sensing. You know, what happens when we're in the water? We feel, you know, we can sense our skin. Although there's none in this picture, it's a skeleton. But we can, you know, we can sense the space around us. We have a way of, it brings us back into being. It brings us back into the body. So whether it's emotional or whether it's literally feeling into the body and feeling how different ideas resonate, you know, in the body, that is going to bring us the wisdom of the lotus that we need to move forward. So moving forward, then we find, you know, we've got this beautiful King of Wands pointing that direction. So, you know, the King of Wands, it could be, you know, seeking outside advice if we need it from a trustworthy person. Could be finding that intelligence and finding that direction inside of ourselves as well. You know, we know how to aim high. We know the direction we're going in. We've already made our choice, right? So it's funny, the advice of the dead with the Lovers was, look, you've made your choice, walk that path, right? The Magician then says, make sure that where did he go? Your intention is fully in harmony as you move that forward. And then, you know, these are all kinds of moments of doubt and emotion, and taking those initial steps here in this Three of Pentacles to make that happen. The King of Wands is then going, look, you know what you're doing. You've had some space to retreat a little bit and sense it out. Move on. You know, take that direction. Let's do this. Okay, which takes us to the Justice card. You know, fascinating to me, the Justice card and doing good and thinking in terms of intention and, you know, and Mott, all of that, you know, is in here and is being mirrored. You know, the more you work with decks and the deeper the connection is, the more they talk and the more they tell you. So this Justice card to me feels like, you know, we need to take the time to weigh things up. We need to plan, we need to organize, you know, and make sure that everything is in balance with what our heart's desires are, right? So if we want to make sure that moving forward in our work, moving forward in our enterprises, that we're coming from a place that is good, right? With the right intention, whatever that intention is, it's coming from a place of goodness. The Justice card then, you know, after our King of Wands is like, go do it. The Justice card is like, great, let's make the plans. You know, let's line everything up. Let's weigh it out and make sure it's in harmony. Okay. And then once we've done that, you know, we're going to shift our camera a little this way. It's not quite as messy this direction. But, you know, they tend to kind of go everywhere. But the Fool then says, okay, great, we're off on our little journey. You know, it's taking our planning and our action forward and going ahead with a light heart. You know, we've got our heart space here. It's reminding us that, you know, we've got that heart space. We can do it. And if we've spent this time here with whatever came up earlier in the week, processing emotions and emotional baggage, then, you know, we are free to move forward with a lot lighter space coming into this, right? So as we take off on that journey after making our plans, we're able to do that more easily. Now, plans are great. The reading takes a shift, right? So our week is maybe going to take a shift in a direction that's not as comfortable. And I'm not going to I'm not going to soften that too much. I feel like this Two of Cups card here is about reminding us to stay in relationship with others from a place of empathy. Okay, so instead of coming to, oops, I don't have to go quite as far over as I think I do. Instead of coming to a, you know, conflict or coming into relationship with other people from a place of what can I get out of it, or what do I need to do next, right? Because anytime we're looking at planning and we're looking at money and we're looking at work, our tendency is to become very swordsy, and we need that. This reading, I think, above all else, definitely shows us that what we're trying to do here is very much to balance emotions with our intellect, and to reconcile planning with what's right in front of us. And anytime we're dealing with people, whatever that work is, whatever that situation is, you know, they are naked to us in some way. And you know, I love how she's reaching in, or that person, it feels female because that person's smaller, but, you know, reaching in and touching the heart, pouring into another person. You know, it's a give and take. There's a flow to life. So as we're beginning and moving forward, we need to carry that empathy with us, because we're going to have some more difficult decisions to make toward the end of the week. Okay. So as we do go towards the end of the week, we are looking at the King of Swords. And the King of Swords is, well, you know, is wise, thankfully. But he's also reminding us like, hey, those difficult decisions are going to have to be made on this journey. So what has to be done? And, the energy of this Two of Cups is reminding us like, okay, make the difficult decision and make it from that place of goodness, right? That is where we're finding our goodness. I do good comes out here. So how do we take that goodness and that empathy and that intention that we started way back here, right, from the beginning, especially here with this magician, and then, apply that wisdom that we found, right? Here's where we have an echo. So we had that wisdom on the other side with the second card. And this is the 10th card, right, out of 11. So it's the balance at the other side of this, the other side of these scales. We maybe have that intelligence and we've thought through things clearly and started to see like, okay, there could be some difficult decisions with the choices that we've made, right, to move forward. This is where we're actually going to have to walk the talk and implement them. So, towards the end of the week, I feel like there will be some conflict that we're gonna have to deal with. It may be interpersonal. It feels like it probably will be. That Two of Cups tells me that we're dealing with situations that require sensitivity and intelligence at the same time if we're really going to be loving and kind to other people, and to remain fully in harmony with the decisions that we've made. And there's our King of Swords, saying, and you have to do it anyway, right? You have to make those difficult choices and decisions anyway, and be fully rational and accountable. And then the week ends, right, towards Friday with all of that. But actually, this Seven of Swords does not hold the same, such a weird card. It does not hold the same kind of sense that a usual Seven of Swords has. So our usual Seven of Swords would give us something to do with sneakiness, people being deceptive, right? Because we've all become accustomed to that from the Rider-Waite-Smith definition. And because these are pictorial pips, we want to assign them, that meaning. That isn't actually where it's coming from, though. If you look closely, it says hope and reflection. From an open coffin, right? We've got like the zombie dude. Zombie skeleton who has hair and a bald spot, which is really, really an unusual choice that is so weird. So I am going to read the definition or the meaning for this card from the book, because I can explain it to you, or I can just tell you what Listrani says here, which I think is probably easier. Let me swap these around. Okay, so he says, we are still in a crisis moment, right, which we saw happening here. But having reflected and reasoned, right, I guess we were reflecting and reasoning inside that coffin somewhere. Let's see. Having reflected and reasoned, we have managed to open the barrier that kept us isolated, which I guess is opening the coffin, and to see a new hope born. The Seven of Swords opens up new roads, new projects, and a renewed trust through which we can overcome debate, gossip, or problems directly connected to fear. And the advice of the dead is look around you and realize that nothing can block your road anymore. Therefore, persevere and concentrate all your energies without sparing yourself. So, interestingly, in this Swords card, there are the seeds of self-compassion and self-care that are woven in, even though there's this weird, creepy coffin, that's being shown here. I think of it as more of a cocoon, really. Sometimes we need to put up that barrier and get a little bit of space. So, the doing good, it's interesting. The doing good and the wanting to move forward with compassion, love, kindness, and an open heart really does require the push-pull of time spent alone and time then spent implementing. And, you know, I think towards the end of the week, whatever conflicts or difficult decisions we've had to make, what this is telling me is that they're going to be fine, that the outcome and the result of having made them is going to leave you feeling more confident, more capable, and ready to move forward with plans, right? These are plans that I feel are probably, for most of us, they're things that we've been working on, thinking about, considering, contemplating for quite some time. You know, I feel like where we're looking at, let's see about moving more towards the middle here. I feel like where we're starting at the beginning, with the Lovers and so forth, you know, this is a decision that predates this week, you know, the week to come. This feels to me like it's probably, coming to us from, you know, much earlier. Let's say a couple of, you know, weeks ago, probably, if not already, just, you know, already before today. And then, you know, the time spent thinking things out, you know, using isolation is something that's probably cyclical that we've been doing. Planting seeds and watching the first stages of things come together is also something that we've been doing. I feel like we're really picking up and starting here with setting that intention. What's the intention? What do I need to do? And revisiting these things here as this is taking place. Okay, that's my sense of it. Then we're also dealing with any kind of things that actually taking that action that's being suggested by the Magician brings up in us. So what does it bring up? And then, you know, really this week we're being asked to stay with it. So instead of bypassing the difficulty in favor of feeling better, or of thinking everything's fine, how can we go more deeply into the wisdom and the intelligence of the body? Because the wisdom intelligence of the body is going to let us, it's going to re-inspire us and give us the wisdom and freedom that comes from this King of Wands. So moving straight into things, with, you know, renewed sense of passion, you know, reminded of direction and intention, and with the energy to really move forward and do it. And that energy then needs to be, ooh, look at the red and the carryover of those roses from there to here. That's perfect. So we're taking that passion and energy and we're going to apply it, you know, to the planning. How do we apply that to planning, balancing, managing, harmonizing, and bringing things together, right? So that we can actually take off and do it. And the Fool is like, just do it and bring your heart with you, because you're going to need it, because you're going to deal with people, and dealing with people is going to require a lot of empathy as very difficult decisions are made. You know, probably decisions that we don't really want to make, that may be unpleasant for others, but remembering that we have to do it, and balancing, again, we've got this justice, right? And you know, the duality here of the Lovers, we're looking for balance. You know, we're balancing the mind and the heart together in order to stay harmonized with intention. And as we do that, remembering, you know, that it's all going to be okay. Take the time and effort that we need to reflect, to get space, and to realize that really, as long as we're staying with that intention and finding that harmony, we're good to go. You know, things will come together. So that is our reading for the week, folks. And what a mess I've just made here with all our little cards. What fun. But I thank you humbly and from the bottom of my heart, those of you who are regularly coming and watching these. You may notice that it's getting easier for me to do these week by week. You know, it just takes a while to kind of get into the rhythm of it. But there we are. All right. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.